Today has felt like a tying up loose ends sort of a day. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. I'm trying to get inspiration to start my next topic that will take us through into the next part of this journal. But I'm feeling a little bit like I'm in limbo, like I'm not quite ready to talk about the next bit because I'm not even sure if I've finished talking about this bit. So I think I'll just say the things that I feel I might have forgotten to say in my last videos. I'm going to potter in my journal, and that really is okay, isn't it? That's exactly why we're here. We're here to have a potter in our journals and to put all the loose ends right so that we can get into a creative mindset. So that's what's happening. So yesterday I left you with this page and we had a look at the blackberries and the changing of the seasons as we start to move out of some of the hotter months and thinking more into our autumnal and fall crafts, but not for everybody who's watching. They're definitely waiting for summer, and I can tell you it is a hot one, so good luck with that. I'm just going to tell you that with that in mind, the jam and the pickling and the canning and the talking about Betty, who was making her own jams yesterday, I couldn't leave it. I was sort of, I was thinking about blackberry jam actually and what that would be like on a scone. But I have got the Country Diary cookery notes, which is an Edith Holden. It's got her illustrations, and Alison Harding has put together some Edwardian and Victorian recipes all in one book, and we then see the Edith Holden images that is very prolific across the junk journaling community. And this is a book that I feel, well, I don't want to cut it up, is worth something because of all the crafters and collectors now. And what caught my eye was the preserves. And so I had a look through and I found this raspberry jam recipe. And I think because it comes from the Victorian era and then the Edwardian era, which is the era that Betty grew up as a child, these would be her childhood recipe memories. I thought that's really quite fun. So I'm going to sort of, well, if I put it up there, you may be able to screenshot the raspberry jam recipe, which any self-respecting housewife would most definitely adapt to a different berry, and they would adjust the sugar accordingly to the tartness of the fruit. So if you've got a sharp tasting berry like a blackberry, or in other parts of the country, maybe other places, you might have a lingonberry in your Scandinavian Norways and places like that, loganberries, and you can throw them out at me. Lots of different berries that maybe are a bit sharp, gooseberry, something like that. But the raspberry jam can be a bit sharp, but it's also quite a sugary one. So I'll just read out the raspberry jam recipe. So I think I said jello, that's not right. Jello is like a wibble wobble jelly on a plate, and in America jelly is the jam. Well, in here we've also got recipes for jelly, and we do have a mint jelly in the UK that we have as a herb side dish, which is a vinegary, minty herb. We have it as a sauce with a roast, often a roast lamb, and then it comes in a jelly type form as well. So jelly or jam, same thing across the water. So whatever you prefer, if it's jelly or jam, this is the recipe. It makes no odds, but in this book it's described as jam. So a simple and delicious jam which keeps very well. This is made with equal weights of fruit and preserving sugar. Rinse the pan with water. So you're just washing out your pan, you're just getting the pan wet, and the wetness is enough for What you then need to do, which is put in the fruit, stir it over gentle heat until the juices flow, and then add the sugar. Keep the heat low until the fruit is mixed with the dissolved sugar. Then bring it quickly to the boil. Boil very quickly for 10 minutes, then test for setting. Skim if needed, and then put into hot jars. So the hot jars would have been because they've been boiled and they are then sterilised. Skimming means to take off anything grotty off the top, any leaves or parts of the fruit, skin bits that you don't want, and maybe any bubbling up foam bits that you don't want. But really, that's so straightforward, isn't it? Equal measures of fruit to the preserving sugar, a little bit of water in a rinsed out pan, you know, just the residual water from washing out the pan, then add the fruit and the sugar. I mean, it's so simple. Keep on a low heat until the fruit is mixed in well. Dissolve the sugar. So when the sugar's all dissolved, you just bring it to a boil. Boil very quickly for 10 minutes. That's it. Boom. Job done. You've got Betty's jam, and probably very careful eating it because it's full of sugar. But there we go. So the raspberry jam recipe is there, and I think strawberry jam's slightly different because you have to be a bit careful because of the fruit content. But she does go on, another one for screenshotting if you haven't got this book, or a good strawberry jam recipe. You could try this. This is Victorian jam, and then you can tweak it to something more modern day and add other things in there that might be nice for strawberry jam, maybe some herbs. I'm sure you can all come up with it, but I think those recipes are really good. And Lucy wrote in again, and she said, yeah, that was a great little booklet to put in the recipes. So there we go, Lucy, you got me all inspired this morning, and I did start having a look for recipes because I was feeling like I might want to make some blackberry jam. And then I felt a little bit restricted because if I'm going to make blackberry jam, I want to be picking them, because yes, I shall be putting that recipe in the little book. I'm pleased that I've shared it all with you now because it was playing on my mind. So now we all know how to make the special jam. We can have a jam tea at any time. You can obviously go and buy the fruit from the store, but I think, you know, we all like to go and see if we can get hold of these things ourselves, or grow them for next year and then make the Edith Holden and whatever it was, Alison Harding jam. But it was only based on the fact that Edith Holden liked, you know, it's got blackberries on the front, so that is Edith Holden's blackberries, and then the recipes were based on the fruits and things that she would draw. So there's lots. If anybody wants to know about any of the recipes in here, we can go through those as well, because there's all sorts of British things, and actually some of them look all right. Lancashire hot pot, well, we might want to know about that if we've got any letters coming from Lancashire. So that's on hand. So I might be bringing in recipes as well to the storytelling, because why not? And we've got these things, so let's share them, and then we can add them, and if there's anything half decent, we could try it, couldn't we? Another thing that was annoying me is I wanted to know about this post box, and I've looked it up. Because our British post box are a very distinctive, very iconic, bright pillar box red, before they got round to making them red, was green. It was a dark green colour, and it didn't catch on because in our more rural parts of England, everything's green, so it was got a bit lost. So they didn't, maybe they were a bit more camouflage perhaps, because of there was an idea for what, I don't know. Again, I haven't done all the history, but I did find out that they were green and not red, so I'm very pleased I didn't start painting it, because I would have got that wrong, and people who know their history would have written in and said, that's not the right colour. So there we go, now we know. And Then the other thing I'm thinking, I don't like the way that I've got this smear and smudge, so I think I'm going to do something about that. And a couple of ways of tackling it is either to pull in the page and make a pocket. We could pull it back this way and then we just cover it up with some collage. So depending on what you want, you can put another tuck pocket and just cover it up, which was my original idea. But yeah, I've just got another thought, which is, of course, doing that. So now I've got a very nice scrap. I've got a shorter page, but I have considered now repairing it with a scrap of tracing paper. Let's get some glue and do a repair. And then it's sort of a nice way to play with the papers. So we just line that up with the rest of it, stick it down. You see the lovely fray coming through. It now looks like that on the other side, which is altogether quite interesting. And then I'm just going to come back to it. I'm just going to let that dry. We'll come back to it and then we'll sort out this bit here. What to do is I'd like to add something to my signature, and then for that I started to get out a little dish of beads that I have here, which are just some old broken jewellery and old beads and things that have come off of things over the years. And you know, I've got all sorts in. Yeah, it's all children's stuff, and you know, old broken bracelets and buttons are creeping in, and a Cornish pixie. Anybody from Cornwall? Could be a leprechaun, but it's not. It's a Cornish pixie. Yeah, so there's these. They're quite nice. I like those. They're jumping out. And there's a little beads, if you've got any beads to rifle through, or have got any jewellery that you no longer wear, you could maybe look at your costume jewellery. But I had just thought, to finish off this, I thought it would be quite nice to put a couple of beads as my centre signature, and just to give that an interesting look. The other thing you can do is to punch out some paper shapes and then glue those on. I think I've shown that before. Ah yes, there you go. So that's another little idea. This is a more colourful one, bit of fun. I shall use this as a notebook. So yes, you just punch out the circles and stick them on, and that is quite nice. It looks like cherries. This is another way of tackling a page that you're not too happy with, by just folding it in and then putting on just a bit of card to give it a closure. Ever so simple, really. I'll have to come back to this. I've forgotten all of those ideas, so we need to rethink some of the ideas and bring them into this one as well. Hopefully this one will hang down a bit lower than the other one, and then they'll sit quite nice in the centre page, and I can do something similar in the second signature, but this time round I might choose little round beads. So we also had a nice little message from Lucy telling us that she's visited her friend in Neston, so we've got an insider now, because she's going we're going to task you, Lucy, to go and have a look at Neston next time you go, which I think she's fully prepared to do, because she had a nice time with her friend looking out over the Mersey. It's just that Neston is on the other side of the estuary, so you're looking out towards the river. Neston looks out to sort of silt marshes, so I'm not sure that is the most desired destination, but I'm imagining that there's probably some nice wildlife there, so you'll have to have a look and report back when you go. And as for them being in the church, well, yes, I mean, the family could well be, but you're looking for a Brown, and then that's a really common British name, so you are going to struggle to find Nellie Brown. But no one's stopping you doing your own research. I think that's wonderful. I can tell you that Nellie Brown was Catholic. I know that from a letter. And I'm not 100% sure. I've got to go through the letters again just in case I've missed anything. But I'm not 100% sure that her family are from where she ended up living in Neston. So it may be that she has family outside of that, and she might not be in the church in Neston. I don't know, she might well be, absolutely, but she was Catholic, so she would have had a really, you know, they were very religious, I do know that. But Betty went to church, but I don't know what church they went to, because there are a couple. There's not many, so yeah, do the research and let me know. I think it's fascinating. I think what you might find is Betty's husband, Bert. So you might find out something about that. Because they definitely all went to church. That's added a little bit of bulk right in the middle there, so just be mindful of that. So I might come back with some more beads there. I didn't leave them very long, really. Where's that one? Yeah. So you could swing them up for when you're doing journaling, just so they don't get in our way. Or perhaps that's something we leave until the end to just put the final finishing touches on. But I was just procrastinating, really. Tinkering and pottering, that's what I've been doing today. Just trying to get my head around where I want to go with this next part of the journal. Yes, I need a bit of a lead up into it, I think, for my own creativity. The river that used to come up to Neston allowed them to have access to goods to come into the town and made it quite a popular market town. Market and trade was booming and it was all good. Then the river started to recede back and Neston sort of slowly began to become less and less accessible. To see on the picture that the river then became marshland, silted area. The river silted up as the river receded, and then Neston was a bit forgotten. You couldn't get there with the trade, so the trade went elsewhere. And so that's what happened to Neston. So it never sort of became the booming, vibrant market town that it always hoped to be, but what it left with that silted deposit and the fact that it's built in that area on that estuary means that the soil there is particularly interesting, and it is rich in minerals from the marine minerals. So there would be calcium and things that gardeners put on their roses. I remember my grandfather used to go down and collect seaweed. I don't think you're allowed to do that now, but he used to go down and collect seaweed. You can if it's in the water, but you can't if it's on the beach. So he would bring the seaweed around and put it on his vegetable patch and his roses, and he grew asparagus and carrots and all this kind of thing. And because it's all high and rich in nitrogen and all the good things and the little micro sea minerals, and he just seemed to know about that, my granddad. And I suppose that was a gardener's tip, but the more we do our studies in modern day, the more we understand. I'm not gluing this down because I've got a feeling I might want to sew that, so I'm just going to leave that, but I just wanted to see if that was going to work as a pocket. Yes, that's a good idea. I'm just going to bend that back and do that idea. Right, I think we're finished with that other bottle of Fabri-Tac. I've got a very small one here. I've bought the smaller bottle just for the purpose of it's usually quite good to have on the desk to grab, and then I refill it. So I'm going to see how I get on. Have something that will work without me needing to sew. And you could even have a flip, so that could be stuck down, and then that flip out like a sewing sample or something. So I'm not sure. There's some ideas to be had there, and we'll just see how that's going to develop, but I quite like that. Anyway, I've got a pocket now, so I've got some papers, a couple of nice papers, so we will probably want to add those in somewhere, so I should just tuck those in. Good, okay, so that's that. So we've done the jam, we've done the pocket, we've done the middle bit. We've got repairs to do here. What was I doing? Something back here. Oh yes, this. So now I've left that looking like that. All I want to do is where I've glued it, I'm now going to tear that down, sort of following the pattern. And that's how we deal with that. So we've got a scrap there to do it again on another page. And I'll just tidy this up. Right, so you can sort of imagine if this was out to sea, this would be the silted up area. This is Neston, you've got Neston, Little Neston, and then you've got this expansive countryside down here, which was all this old original estuary, rich silt. And that was of high botanical interest to gardeners. I'm just going to perhaps see how I might like them. So if that one's going to be up there, then I could have another one in there. I mean, I've probably got too many. Then that one, and then that one. We're on a wobble. We're on a wobble on the Wirral. A Wirral wobble. There we go. And one more. I mean, I have crowded it quite a lot, but then that's okay. I quite like that. Good. And that is a very nice, simple page. And I could also have something put down there, but I think I just like the simplicity of that. That's really quite sweet. It's quite sophisticated. And it just reminds me of the shoreline of Neston and the estuary meeting and all of that. And then the idea that there's this wonderful nutritious silt there that allows flowers to grow, and that is going to lead us more into the botanical aspect that makes Neston famous. And we are going to learn about the botanical gardens at Neston, or in a place called Ness, which is right next door to Little Neston, where they're all from. It is next door. It's the next fields along is this massive, hugely famous botanical gardens in Ness on the Wirral. So I hope you've enjoyed this little botanical adventure that we are having here in the journal, tying up loose ends and exploring ideas, relaxing, pottering and slowly easing ourselves back into a gentle, quiet craft that is journaling, and allowing your mind to wander into different places, sometimes when we're so busy and we're so wrapped up in all the things that we have to do. It's just nice to be able to sit quietly and work out what's important or what's not important, or what do we want to ponder and muse about in a quiet hour that allows us to just be ourselves and calm down from the day and wind down. I always find it's calming and relaxing to read a chapter of a book, and in the same way it's quite nice to explore new ideas and be creative with our hands while we're also thinking through some thoughts and wondering about other things, history and how things work together and why they work together, and why people are journaling about botanical things, and what does that mean, and where did it come from, and who started that, and why was that popular in a certain time and place, and where was this time and place? Do you know where it was? It was in Neston, where Betty's from, and that's how this story has been evolving, and it's leading us to these more interesting finds from ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Of acts of kindness is leading us to find out of why we do things in our journals. It's all very interesting. So I hope you found fun and some value here today, and consider subscribing to the channel so you can follow along. If you're completely baffled about what we're talking about with Betty, do please have a look at the Indian Summer Journal playlist, and that will explain everything if you go from number 19 onwards, when we found the original letters and the sparks of inspiration that it has taken us off on a certain pathway. We're going with it, so lots of people seem to be enjoying that, and it resonates with people across the world, because we've all got a character in our family tree that could have been Nellie Brown or could have been Betty. We've all got mums and grandmas and grandparents and, you know, uncles, and it's real, and it could be anybody from your family that you might want to bring to life on a page in your own journal. And also, this is a shout out to Linda as well, who wrote in to say that she has completed her journal using some of the prompts here and has given it as a gift to her friend on her wedding day. How wonderful is that? And if you are wanting to send me a special photograph and you're not on Instagram, because you can find me on Instagram at The Treasured Page, and tag me there if that's something that you're not familiar with. Do please email in a picture of your final completed journal or a special page that has really been something that's been inspirational from my videos here at The Treasured Page. Please send them in to Melanie at thetreasuredpage.com. That's my email address, and I can collect them all up, and then towards the end of this journal make, I can do a nice gallery of some of the makes from people all around the world. That would be wonderful if you want to do that. So I'll flash up the email address, and above everything else, guys, just slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.